Hello everyone and welcome to the Pitskill.io Porsche Cup sponsored by SimQuips. Tonight is round 7 of the series and we are here in South Africa at Kyalami and the heavens have opened and well, to reuse the quote from Toto, sorry, wrong Toto. Let's try that again. I do bless the rains down in Africa, as this is going to be quite the slippery race, I think, as Rhys Tattersall is about to finish the first of his flying laps, our championship leader, and as he comes around the final corner to cross the line, I can tell you he puts himself into P3, and just to take this opportunity at the start of this qualifying session to take a brief look at our championship standings, and at the moment it's looking like quite the dominance from Rhys Tattersall, driver who's won all but one of these races so far, and that other race was won by our P2 driver Johan Leff, who has unfortunately already missed out on one of the rounds, so looks like it's an awful way behind. But when we get into the final few rounds, the 3 drop rounds that each driver gets should start to come into play, and we'll see if Johan can get any closer to Tattersall. But behind our lead 2 is where the real action is, with Sam McCarthy, Samuel von Liebenstein and Robert Weidbeck separated by just 15 points, and with quite a lot of points available, with 100 points available for a win in one of these rounds. That battle is as close as it can be. We also have some tighter battles further down the field, but we will check back in with that later as we look away from our standings and start to have a look at the times being set in this very session. And it is Johan Leff at the moment who is leading the way on a 1 minute 49.7, which is a very, very respectable time in these cars in these conditions. And Leff improving all the while as well. Gained already about half a second on this lap, as many drivers behind, also getting familiar with these conditions, are finding a little bit more time, as Balazs Fehir crosses the line, goes P7 and returns to the pit lane. As we have a look around and see who else is going quicker at the moment. Matthias Peltzer coming into the second to last corner, avoiding the Kyalami salami. He rounds the final corner of this Kyalami circuit. A short drive to the line. We'll see him improve up to P5 for now with a 150.175. I believe Johan Leff has invalidated that lap, so I think an incident a short while ago means he won't find the time that he was up by. But Rhys Tattersall now going faster. He comes up over the top through the hairpin at the top of the hill. It's a blind braking point up there, and very easy for drivers which are unfamiliar with the circuit to actually end up on the grass on the outside of that corner. It's a little bit of a deceptive kink at the top there. But Tattersall takes it nice and smoothly through the final sector. Just 2 corners left to navigate. Keeping it wide of the death curb. The second to last corner. And a dash towards the line. And Rhys Tattersall takes pole position for now with 149.112. That is 6.5 tenths of a second faster than anyone else out there. We check back in with Johan Leff, who's going quicker. Still nice to find a little bit of pace if they want to beat Tattersall, but this is going to get them closer, I believe. A few corners left to navigate. Keeping it within the track limits. This is going to be close. I think it might still go advantage Tattersall by the end of this lap, but Johan Leff finding the pace at the moment. So he crosses the line. It's a 1:49.232. 1.2 tenths off of Rhys Tattersall. And he'll have to go again and try and find a little bit more pace. As returning to the Porsche Cups, after an absence last week, we have got Maya van Dijk. Currently sitting on a 1:51.7 and currently a little bit down on their previous best. Still just over 5 minutes remaining of this session for them to find some more time. So looking down the order, John Sawyer, regular in these Porsche Cup events, currently sitting in P9. Sawyer still with a rookie license on their Pitskill account. Surprised with the number of races I've seen them in, but reasonably safe driver, so should be able to get themselves some pit rep over the next few rounds of this Porsche Cup event. So they come down the hill, lost a little bit of time over the course of this lap, and oh, that one might just be running a little wide through there, out onto the grass. So tricky in these wet conditions to just keep the car in the grooves of the dry line, or the drier line I should say, coming through that corner. Otherwise you can catch a horrendous amount of understeer and have a one-way ticket into the grass. As Lutranma, LTR Racing, coming around, sweeping right-hander, deceptively long corner that one, requires lots of patience from the driver. Whereas most of the corners here are very straightforward. Brake, a little bit of coasting perhaps at the apex, but then straight back on the throttle. Lutranma going very wide at the top of the hill, losing lots of time coming down the hill, and dips a wheel onto the grass. That's not going to do their lap time any good whatsoever. So they descend the hill, still up on their previous best, but losing a little bit of time as they come through the final two corners. As just coming around the final corner now is our series sponsor, Chris SimQuips Right. So he comes across the line, moves up 2 positions into P13. That's how close it is down there. Just half a tenth found Chris Wright 2 positions, but very quickly loses one of them as Lutranma moves himself up the standings, as does Maya van Dijk. And with just under 3 minutes remaining on the session, final opportunity for these drivers to find a little bit more lap time. Sam McCarthy coming around the final sector, but one driver with one corner to go and with an eye on taking pole position away from Rhys Tattersall is Johan Leff. It's going to be close, I think, with this lap, but not close enough as they cross the line. It's a 1:49.172, 600ths of a second off of Tattersall. And as Tattersall's out there improving on their best time, there's every chance we could see a driver into the 1:48 by the end of the session. And when I say a driver, I do of course mean Rhys Tattersall. As Marco Lorenzon, another one of our Porsche Cup regulars, brings it around the second sector, is also considerably up on their previous best time. And also some drivers down at the bottom of the field finding plenty of time. As we'll skip over to those later, but Lorenzon could see themselves jumping up into the top 10 with this lap if they can keep it together. Finding a good amount of time. As just in front of Lorenzon is Reese Tattersall, going even faster, although losing a little bit of pace, trying to make themselves a bit of a gap to go on another lap. It's going to be the final attempt at a flyer from Reese Tattersall, as Marco Lorenzon comes to cross the line, cruise to a 150.262, puts themselves P11 for now. And that is going to be the end of Lorenzon's session. They've just underfueled. As Michalak coming to cross the line with the L plates on the back of the car. Moves up to P19. Got one more lap to go, but does need to find 0.4 of a second if they want to be moving up ahead of Marquardt. And just keeping it within the track limits there. Michalak pushing it hard, but I suspect may have just lost a little bit too much time through that first corner. Go on board with Reese Tattersall, who is chasing that elusive 148 in these cup cars as they climb the hill towards the hairpin. Luke Tranmer just ahead. Shouldn't be interrupting Tattersall as he descends the hill now. The rain obscuring our view. Ooh, just a little bit delayed getting onto the throttle for Reese. Drops a little bit of time, but this is such a solid lap. I suspect he'll get it into the 48s anyway. One final corner, heavy on the brakes. Comes a little wide of the apex, but manages to carry the speed as he comes up to cross the start-finish line. Tranmer ahead also improves up to P11, but Reese Tattersall with a 1:48.877 cements pole position for this round 7 of the Porsche Cup Series. Just a few drivers left to finish their qualifying lap. Sam McCarthy crosses the line to take P13. And Balazs here moves himself up to P15. Christian Fager coming around the final corner sideways. And I don't think they're going to improve on their previous best. So our starting order will be Reese Tattersall on pole position, followed by Johan Laff and Matthew Parry. Go to a short break and we will be back for tonight's race. Welcome back as Rhys Tattersall leads us away on the formation lap here at Kyalami. We've just got a few minutes to go through our starting order for tonight's race. As previously mentioned, on pole position we have got Rhys Tattersall in the Bruce liveried car, and we've got Johan Lepp returning to their onion colours for tonight's race. Behind we have got Matthew Parry in the silver and black car, and then John Sawyer in the blue and yellow. In fifth position is Busso in their very distinctive white, red and green car. A regular colour scheme on the Pitskill grid. In P6 is Nielsen in the green and pink car. And behind is Robert Weidbeck in the black and red. And tonight, with the correct livery, I remembered to download the right one this time, we have got Tadeusz Szynski in Rexy. Good to have Rexy on the grid. And P9 is Roland Schricker in the white and black car. Behind him is Matthias Peltzer in the, and again I always forget which livery it is that Peltzer runs. It is the SimQuips livery, not to be confused with either the SimQuips or the, well, as this is sponsored by SimQuips liveries, both of those may be on the grid tonight. In P11 is Luke Tranmer in the yellow and black car. Behind him in the orange and black is Marco Lorenzon. And then we have in the dark grey and blue Sam McCarthy. In the pure white is Van Dijk. And then we have got Balazs Fahir in, oh my god, I can never think that's the SimQuips. It must be, surely. No, actually no, it's just a standard blue car. Nice. We have George Perks and Chris Wright in the SimQuips car. In the yellow is Marcard. Purple there is Michalak. Sorry, the black is Marcard, the purple is Michalak. Then we have Chitil, Simmers, Henstra, Nitro in his usual mint green livery, Vega, yellow red in the blue car, confusingly, and at the back of the grid we have got Harold Katchermeyer. We return to the front of the field. Our leaders are ready to get this race started as the confusingly crowd raised green flags. That's not the real green flag. That's the real green flag as the lights go green. And it's a good start from Johan Lepp with the outside line, pinching Rhys Tattersall to the inside, but opening up the corner, keeping on that slightly drier line, sweeping it around the outside. And that's good racing from the pair of them, and Johan Lepp takes the lead in the race. As there's a change behind as Matthew Parry battling with John Sawyer. And it looks like Nielsen is alongside Busso. Up at the front, it is Rhys Tattersall behind Johan Lepp. As we have got battling all down the field behind. Oh, as I think that is Benjamin Simmers getting a little bit of a sideswipe there. Keeping it collected together. It's got the inside line for the chicane as they come down the hill. Chris Wright having made up a good number of positions on the opening lap. Actually, no, hasn't made up positions. Still P17. But the real winner in this opening lap is Grzegorz Michalak up to P14. It's been an eventful first lap for Michalak. Yes, up at the front, Rhys Tattersall is on the attack against Johan Leff. As we come around the final 2 corners to complete our opening lap of this race. Leff in control for now. It's not a super straightforward circuit to overtake on, but it is slightly easier than some circuits we've been to before, as we've got an incident for Van Dijk. As what's happened to Maya Van Dijk here? Oh, just a little too eager on the throttle coming out of the final corner, and rotates it into the pit wall, and that sees Van Dijk slip to the back of the field. Unfortunate for them. Up at the front, Reese Tattersall. Still on the attack against Johan Leff. And both running very different lines around these corners, but doesn't seem to be offering too much of an advantage. I think Reese Tattersall maybe with a slightly more pace, but not enough to affect a move. And well, it was all really down to Johan Leff making that crucial move at the start, taking the lead as Reese Tattersall tries for the switchback, as they both get a snap of oversteer coming over the crest of the hill. How they didn't collect each other, I do not know, but Johan Leff maintaining position, holds the inside line through I want to say barbecue. I cannot remember the names of these corners here. I'm going to have to open up a track map. Sorry, this is very unprofessional. But still, Johan Leff holding position. As behind these pair, John Sawyer on the attack against Matthew Parry. Looks to the inside. Not quite close enough to go for a lunge on this lap. Slots back in behind and tries to follow Parry through. As Michelak losing a couple of positions. I think maybe just having a little bit of a moment coming through the final corner, and that is Wright and Lorenzon coming through. As the fastest lap of the race so far is sitting with this man right here, Busso. The 1 minute 50.067. Some 3/10 faster than our leaders. Solid pace from Busso. And he is closing up that gap to Sawyer and Parry ahead. As Reese Tattersall continues the offensive. Johan Leff getting another snap of oversteer coming over the top of the hill. Reese Tattersall trying not to get too much oversteer and ending up getting an armful of understeer instead. These conditions tricky for these drivers. As Reese Tattersall yet to find a way past, is all over the back of Leff coming through that middle sector. As Johan Leff covers the inside line, Reese Tattersall tries to carry the speed through. Oh, switch back to the inside, and Johan Leff getting all out of sorts there, and Reese Tattersall capitalises on it and takes the position. We'll watch this one again. Johan Leff at the inside line goes too deep. Has to get it slowed down to avoid sliding off the track, and that's what opens the door to Reese Tattersall to go up to retake the lead of this race. I think Johan Leff maybe just overdriving a little bit at this stage of the race. Knows he's got a little bit of a pace deficit to Reese Tattersall, and needs to pull something special out now if he wants to try and maintain this gap, because we do know that Reese Tassel likes to drive away, and wow, Reese Tassel coming through the S's sideways there. As we have a battling at the back between Maya van Dijk and Marquardt. Van Dijk to the inside, Marquardt throwing it around the outside. I think perhaps a little bit off track there. But Marquardt can carry considerable damage to the front of that car as well. Van Dijk looking like they've got the straight line speed. Are they going to try and go side by side through the mine shaft? Nope. Thinking better of it. And Marla Marquardt stays ahead for now. Yes. That seems to be the one of the favoured ways around most of the corners on this circuit is sideways. We've seen it from numerous drivers kicking the rear of the car out. It's Matthias Peltzer. Chases down Balázs Fehér. Balázs Fehér, who's had a good start to this race as well, up into P6 right now. Sorry, not up into P, up into P9, up 6 positions, I should say. And holding position ahead of Matthias Peltzer, Sam McCarthy, Roland Stricker and Luke Tranmer, all making up this train. And slowly being caught by Marco Lorenzon, Chris Wright and Grzegorz Michalak. So quite the little battle forming here from P9 downwards. With another smaller battle ahead between Nielsen, Szynski and Weidbeck. As Rexy is on the hunt. As Tadeusz on the back of Nielsen, not close enough to really have any sort of attempt at a pass here. As Weidbeck has a glance. Oh wow! Yeah, that was too fast into the corner. That was an ambitious move. From that camera angle, I thought it was a great attempt at an overtake, and then I realised, no, that's just far too much speed. And Nielsen doing well there to avoid the torpedo of Szynski, who's only going to cost themselves a position for that, so they'll need to regroup and go again. As Chris Wright battling Marco Lorenzon. Just about got themselves ahead through turn 2, I think that is. Oh, as in the background we see Christian Feger and Grzegorz Michalak go flying off the track together. It looked like Feger just slightly overcooking that one. As Balázs Fehér continues to lead this group around, with Matthias Peltzer attached firmly to the back of his car. So they descend the hill down through the mine shaft. Oh, and Luke Tranmer and Sam McCarthy have gone for an off-road excursion, and Sam McCarthy not getting it back onto the track in a sensible fashion. As Sam McCarthy goes well wide, Luke Tranmer just going for the four-wheel slide, and well, Sam McCarthy lucky not to get collected by any of the other cars coming through. That sees them drop down to P15 as Matthias Peltzer continues to chase after Balazs hit. Although the chaos behind has allowed these two to just concentrate on each other for now. Luke Tranmere dropping back. As we've got yellow flags out for Van Dijk. Don't know what's happened there. Oh, another spin at the final corner for Van Dijk. Good spin turn though, and get it facing the right way. But a bit early for doing donuts, especially when you're down in P23. As Busso has dropped back to P7 now and is under pressure from Tadeusz Szynski. Is Rexy going to try and send it up the inside? Well, he had a look, but backs out of it. And Busso staying ahead for now. Tadeusz Szynski dropping back a little bit from Busso, giving him a little bit of breathing room. Someone who doesn't have much breathing room at the moment is Balazs Fahit, who's still running in P9. And is keeping Matthias Peltzer at bay, but it looks like Peltzer's got a good run out of the final corner. In the slipstream, isn't really going to be close enough for a look into the first corner, I don't think. He's going to poke out, see if he can see an opportunity, but nothing presenting itself just yet. As we've got a battle behind between Strucker and Tranmere. Some of these battles turning into battles of attrition, as it's really just trying to pressure the car ahead of you into a mistake. So easy to make a mistake in these wet conditions. And with the rain continuing to fall, it's going to stay wet conditions for the rest of this race. Oh, and Matthias Peltzer did well to hold that one. As we can see, as he turns into the corner, snap it over there and having to catch the car. Well held there by Matthias Peltzer. As, oh, what's happened to Luke Tranmere? We come through the final corner. Or is it just getting a little out of sorts on the curb, trying to get on the throttle, and that is heavy impact with the wall. Luke Tranmere, after that spin, dropping down to P14 from what was P11. Oh, and I think he may have just been losing it again there. No, it does well to collect it on the inside of the track. So, Luke Tranmere at least lives to fight another day. As Nitro battling with Chittil in the slipstream as they come through Sunset. It's good to see Nitro in these close battles. A very safe driver on the grid and only getting faster the more they race. now a regular in these Porsche Cup races. As we've got a number of battles developing on track, with Balázs Fehér still leading around Matthias Peltzer, but Roland Schricker has joined the fight. And it's looking at the moment as if it might actually be Peltzer to be the first to lose their position to Schricker. Well, he's going very deep into the first corner. Peltzer under real pressure now. It's all about getting that exit lined up as Chris Wright is closing in slowly but surely on the back of this fight, as Peltzer running very wide around Sunset, struggling to get onto the throttle. Is Schricker brave enough to try and put one around the outside? Not quite. Stays slotted in behind as we head through the S's, and Peltzer looking like they're just a little bit uncomfortable behind the wheel of that car. And it's just behind this bunch, Sam McCarthy looking up the inside of Luke Tranmer. Tranmer in that damaged car after we saw that spin and slide into the wall, and Sam McCarthy, oh, just getting a real tank slapper there. Couldn't hold it together. Oh, wasn't much he could do to hold it there other than just let the car maybe spin to the left instead, but he starts to get the slide, corrects it, and collects Luke Tranmer. As we've got yellow flags out for Roland Schricker as well. Well, Schricker out on the grass, and looks like they've been there for a while. This is now a replay, but Schricker trying to get back on track and has just been passed by Tranmer and Fehér. So I said, really turning into a battle of attrition out there. As Weidbach and Busso have caught up to Jens Nielsen. Luke Tranmer trying to fight his way back out. Oh, as this time it's Christian Fehér with the slide through the top. At the top of the hill, the corner, which name I cannot say. Lukop. I'm sure someone will correct me if I've absolutely butchered that. Well, as everyone really struggling in these conditions, it seems like drivers in need of a very sensitive right foot to get the most out of these Porsche Cup cars in these conditions. Tranmer just dropping back a little bit away from Fehér. But Fehér going sideways through the first corner yet again. As Balázs Fehér continues to hold off Matthias Peltzer. It's been the one of the stories of the race so far. Oh, as they hit, making a rare mistake. Is perhaps opening up an opportunity for Peltzer to try and go for the better exit of the corner. Oh, as yellow flags for Chris Wright. And what has happened to our series sponsor? Oh, just going a little too wide there on the brakes and seems to brake on the curbing. Not the best of ideas in these conditions. Not much grip out there. As Peltzer's the closest they've been for a while now. Getting right into the slipstream. Behind Fahit. And I'm not sure who that is ahead of them. But whoever it is, back marker nicely moving out of the way to allow this battle to continue. And as Matthias Peltzer closing in as we head around Sunset. And it seems like these conditions making it easy for drivers to find pace over each other, but making it very difficult for any drivers to actually make an overtake. Need supreme confidence to pull a car alongside another when it's quite this slippery. As Matthias Peltzer taking quite a bit of the Kyalami salami there, and well, lucky not to have that affect his line even more than it already did. And the start-finish straight here at Kyalami, not quite long enough to allow anyone to get alongside. We've yet to see any real side-by-side moves into turn one. And just about every overtake we've seen tonight has had to come from a mistake from the lead driver. And so far, Balazs Fahit not making any huge mistakes. Do we check in with the battle behind this pair? With Christian Fager has got Luke Tranmer and Roland Schricker for company. So they come through the S's. Oh, Fager just having to slow the car down there as they came through the S's to avoid going off the circuit. Has allowed Tranmer to close in, but Tranmer going very deep there, and I think that might have allowed Schricker to have a look up the inside. So they come through mineshaft. Schricker looks to the inside, looks to the outside, but would have been a optimistic place to go for a lunge, and you're not really going to want to be trying to make a move through Cheetah either. You only go for a move there if you want one or both of you to die. Oh, there's a little bit of a twitch there from Luke Tranmer. But so far, we remain in the same order. As our battle further up the grid between Nielsen, Weidbeck and Busso continues. Again, these three keeping close together, but no one making a substantial enough mistake to allow another car by. Everyone doing very well under considerable amounts of pressure tonight. Oh, there's a big snap there from Jens Nielsen. It's allowed Weidbeck to catch up, but again, just through these sequence of corners, not really enough room to get alongside as Nielsen again getting very sideways through the final corner. Does allow Weidbeck to close in to the slipstream. Oh. Well, Nielsen going defensive to the inside. Could be an opportunity to Weidbeck to try and brake late and go around the outside. In the end, Nielsen doing just enough to hold on to the position. Keeps hold of P6 for now. But Weidbeck continuing to apply serious amounts of pressure here. And is right into the slipstream as we head down towards sunset. There's Weidbeck maximising the exit. He's going to look around the outside of Clubhouse. In the end, having to back out of it. Is this going to open the door to Busso behind? This is supreme battling between the three of them. As Nielsen going off track, that's going to allow Weidbeck through into the braking zone. Do not try and go three wide through here. It is a recipe for certain death. But so far, Nielsen doing just enough to hold on to the position. Forced Weidbeck to try and go around the outside. But the pressure clearly showing on Nielsen at the moment. A few mistakes. Just needs a bit more of an impactful one there for Weidbeck to be able to make it through. Nielsen just having their small mistakes in the right part of the track to be able to cover off the offence. This is the major corner where you do not want to have a mistake. I think I may have just commentated cursed Weidbeck. It's a big mistake there from Robert Weidbeck, and Busso closing in down the straight. Not close enough on the exit though to make full use of that mistake. Robert Weidbeck now having to look in his mirrors as Busso extremely close, looking up the inside. And so far maintaining order, but Weidbeck has now dropped back a little bit away from Nielsen. It's becoming a two-car fight between Weidbeck and Busso. As behind this group, we've got Sam McCarthy looking up the inside of George Perks. Sam McCarthy with that earlier incident, trying to make their way through up the inside of Barbecue. Is he going to make it stick? Not quite. And as our race leader rounds the final few corners, it's going to be Reese Tattersall to see the checkered flag and to take the win here in round 7 of the Pitskill.io Porsche Cup, sponsored by SimQuips. He will be followed by a Johan Leff, who takes another P2 in this championship. And then in P3 we have Matthew Parry, followed closely behind by John Sawyer taking P4. In P5 will remain Jens Nielsen, followed by Robert Weidbeck and Busso in P8. And a lonely P8 is Tadeusz Szynski, who had a few battles early on in the race, but then had a little bit of a run on their own. They are followed by Balazs Fehir and Matthias Peltzer, who remain P9 and 10. In P11 is Chris Wright, followed by Marco Lorenzon. Then in P13 is Christian Fager, followed by George Perks. In P15 is Sam McCarthy with Luke Tranmer. Luke Tranmer just in the line to take P16. In P18 is Chittil, followed by Roland Schricker in P18. Nitro takes P19 with Milo Marcard crossing the line in P20 with that heavily damaged front end. In P21 will be Gregor Michalak. And final driver to finish on the lead lap will be Harold Ketchelmeyer. Congratulations to all of our drivers for racing in these incredibly tough conditions. And special congratulations to our race winner, Rhys Tattersall, and our podium finishers, Johan Leff and Matthew Parry. We'll be back next week with the Pitskill.io Porsche Cup, sponsored by SimQuips. We'll be going to the Nürburgring. So do join us for that. And on Wednesday, I will be on this channel racing the Pitskill.io VIP Trophy. So if you want to see some live VR racing, please do tune in for that. And if you would like to join the racing at Pitskill, please do check the description of this video, where I have got a referral link to get yourself signed up and start attending some of our daily Double Dash races. And until next time, I have been your host, Roy Weller, and have a very lovely rest of your day. We'll now jump over to the highlights of tonight's race and see what overtakes happened. Good night.